One Punch Man is a series that probably needs no introduction. It's a beloved property whose protagonist alone can be found on several anime lists for strongest character. Even if you're not familiar with the property, I'm sure you'll recognize it from some of the memes. It's just a beloved franchise within the community. Which is why it sucks to see that there is now some huge drama surrounding it, specifically in regards to its anime adaptation. Now, I made a video a few months ago about the new Fist of the North Star anime adaptation, and it was mostly just me ranting about how the animation doesn't do justice for the series, and now it seems like One Punch Man has fallen victim to this as well. I want to make it clear, this is not the same style of CG animation as Fist of the North Star, or even an anime like 2016's Berserk. Lord help us all. That is not the animation that is being used for One Punch Man. But it still looks incredibly cheap. Cheaper than the alternatives, I mean. One Punch Man Season 1 was a damn near masterpiece. It was a great entry point to the medium, and I think its adaptation to anime was executed very well. From its pacing to some of the fights, it really was breathtaking to watch. It had some of the most beautiful animations you've ever seen. Everything, including the character work, was executed wonderfully in Season 1. It was extraordinary. But then Season 2 rolled around, and suddenly One Punch Man started to fall off. Almost as hard as Seven Deadly Sins, which is another infamous anime that was killed off because of a decline with the animation. Season 2 of One Punch Man was a huge step down from its first season, which isn't surprising. They changed animation studios, so the quality was bound to be different. But I don't think anyone expected it to be this bad. Obviously, JC's staff doesn't typically do projects like One Punch Man, but the final product, it looked like they hated animation. Like, they did not want to animate anything. It was no longer fluid, the CG was really off-putting, and they heavily relied on still images to depict certain scenes. This isn't a controversial take, by the way, but it seems like it was really only the characters that carried Season 2. Because the characters in One Punch Man, they're so rooted from the source material. That is an upside, but that is not to say the season overall was a huge step backwards. When it was announced Season 3 of One Punch Man was once again going to be produced by that same studio, I think it was safe to say the only thing anyone could really do was try to be optimistic. They definitely had more time to cook, so maybe things would be better this time around. But nope, after Season 2 aired, it looks like they prepared something even worse. Season 2 got dubbed One Frame Man by the fandom, and somehow Season 3 is looking worse. I shit you not, there is even a scene where Garo is going down a hill to confront some bullies, and nobody bothered to animate him. They just took a still image and dragged it down. I'm not even exaggerating, here's proof. It's so janky! It's just inexcusable for something as beloved as One Punch Man to get this kind of anime treatment. Especially since some of the most nothing burger properties are still getting some of the most beautiful anime adaptations you've ever seen. It could be like Senpai Doesn't Shove Dildos Up His Ass, which is a series about an inspiring sex toy maker. And when the anime comes around, it's breathtaking! Actual Demon Slayer quality animation for something nobody gives a f*** about. It really is insulting that garbage like that gets this kind of passionate treatment from studios, but an anime like One Punch Man, something people are at least loosely familiar with, gets hand-me-down to JC's staff. It doesn't make sense. Especially considering these slice-of-life anime don't need extraordinary animation in order to capture the essence of the genre, but an action comedy like One Punch Man does! I want to make it clear, I don't think JC's staff is doing it on purpose, I just don't think they're the studio that can handle animating a property like One Punch Man. They already proved that with Season 2, and now that the first 2 episodes of Season 3 are released, it just proves what people already knew, that they can't do it! It's beating a dead horse. I'm not just talking out of my ass, by the way. For the sake of the video, I did gaslight myself into watching the first 2 episodes of Season 3, and it is atrocious. Even outside the lack of animation, it's egregiously slow to the point that there's no movement at all. I already mentioned the scene with Garo, but often there will be still images that linger for half a minute at times. So the camera will slowly pan over a still frame before transitioning to the next. And then you'll have some narrator dialogue in between. To call that an animation is being generous. You're basically watching a picture book. Nothing moves until the very end of episode 2, which has Garu confronting King, gearing up for a big fight at the start of episode 3. Now, if you want my little game theory on how I think that's going to go, I predict it's going to follow the same formula from Season 2, where the fight is mainly going to be impact frames and camera pans. Obviously, I hope that isn't the case, but if it is, I might have to consider dropping the One Punch Man anime. It was a chore watching Season 2, and I really don't want to repeat that for Season 3. I'm sure you can tell by my tone that I'm already not the biggest One Punch Man enthusiast, and it's for the same reason as a lot of fans right now. Like, I understand where this drama is coming from. Nobody wants to see one of their favorite properties look this bad. And One Punch Man is a particular case because Season 1 was spectacular. So to go from Madhouse Studios to JC's staff, the difference is night and day. Again, it was this kind of swap with studios and decline in animation that killed other animes in the past. It's why so many people, including me, dropped animes like Seven Deadly Sins, and is still widely considered to be one of the biggest animes at the time to have the hardest fall off. Now, there's been a lot of discussion as to why the anime is in the state that it is. From what I understand, there was a lot of back and forth negotiating between studios as to who was going to get Season 3, which unfortunately ended up in the hands of JC's staff. So they didn't really have time to whip up something great. But I don't think that's an excuse. If that is the case, then there needs to be better scheduling or extend the deadline so they have time to cook. Instead, they just slapped that shit on screen while it was still half-baked. Maybe there were some external factors, like a lack of funding, or maybe they were just so content with the IP that they knew people would watch it no matter what state it was in. That could be equally as possible, but it still doesn't add up. We're living in an era where so much high-quality animation is being done, and the anime industry has never been better. Season 1, which was 10 years ago, by the way, still holds up better than several anime that continue to air. I don't know why it's taken them a decade to produce only 3 seasons, but the point I'm trying to make is this should have been a slam dunk. All they had to do was follow up Season 1 with something of equal or higher quality, but instead they fumbled the ball. Anyways, I just wanted to talk about this and share my thoughts now that I've seen the new episodes. I don't think Season 3 stands a chance. I'd be surprised if it did, but so far I don't have much optimism. That's really about it, so